Hey, what's up? Anthony with Bleacher Bums Gaming, and I'm gonna do a fun little project with Out of the Park 25. I've had it for a minute, and honestly, at this point, haven't really played it that much. But I got a fun idea for a Major League expansion. So the backstory to this is going to be as follows. So Major League Baseball is ready for expansion prior to the 2024 season, and disagreements between the ownership of the clubs as to where the new franchises will go, as well as concerns with the talent depth, especially with pitching, led to a very unique situation where Ray Kinsella, who had long been running a major sports tourism stop-off in Iowa, due to the magical cornfield he had where people would stop by and pay to see legends of the past. I swear to God, I'm not drinking. Play on his former cornfield. So Kinsella approached Major League ownership and said that he had enough players to field an expansion team in each league, and he requested owners allow him the opportunity to put two teams together, which would be made exclusively of dead ball players, and one would be located in Iowa. That would be the American League All-Star, basically dead ball All-Star team he would run, and with Connie Mack as manager, and the Louisville Colonels, under the tutelage of John McGraw, would play in the National League. So, of course, initially this idea was shot down, and as time went on and lawsuits mounted, basically a coalition of baseball fans took this all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And their argument is these players are currently present and playing and entertaining us. They should be able to compete against the best of the current time, so we could see how these all-time players stack up. For some reason, the court sided with the fan coalition, and expansion franchises as well as realignment were implemented prior to the start of the 2024 season. So let's go over the realignment, which is now 4 divisions of 4 teams each in each league. So AL East, you see standard Baltimore, Boston, New York, and Toronto. Central Division is Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, and the newly minted Iowa Barnstormers. West Division is the Angels, Athletics, Mariners, and Texas Rangers. The AL South is Houston, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Miami, both coming to the American League. And that rounds out your AL alignment. In the National League, the East Division, New York, Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington, Central Chicago, Cincy, St. Louis, and the other expansion team, the Louisville Colonels. And West Division, Arizona Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants. And finally, the NL North, we have Kansas City and Minnesota going over to the National League to join Colorado and Milwaukee there. So that is the current setup, and in terms of the teams, we will first look at the Louisville entry. So the Louisville entry basically is made up of, again, National League All-Stars, or players who played in the dead ball era. They had to play a significant amount of their time in the dead ball era. And the 25 players selected from Kinsella's Field of Dreams to participate in this on this team. The outfield, Sherry McGee, center field, Roy Thomas, and right field, Mike Donlin, the New York Giant, who actually had a career that could have been much better, but he was unable to stay consistent. The infield, Jimmy Collins, Hannes Wagner, Johnny Evers, and Frank Chance, so half of that infield from the notorious Cubs infield. Designated hitter, which this, of course, both teams will have a DH in this league, Larry Doyle. And you see some of the backups, Wee Willie Keeler, who split time between both leagues, but to balance things out, he went to the National League. Gabby Cravath, who is the probably the premier power hitter of the dead ball era, at least until Babe Ruth became a regular player towards the end of the dead ball era in 1919. And backing up Evers is Larry Doyle. Heine Groh can back up both second and third. And then Doyle and Keeler backing up Chance at first. The main catcher will be Roger Bresnahan of the New York Giants, and Lave Cross will be his backup. And then you see the pinch hitters listed in order. The pitching staff, actually a very strong one. Both staffs are pretty strong. You have Grover Cleveland Alexander, Mordecai Three Finger Brown, Christy Mathewson, Toad Ramsey, who is a primarily 19th century player who made the cut and actually might be the best pitcher on the Louisville squad at this time. And finally, the great Cy Young. And again, he split time, but to balance things out, he was assigned to the National League team. Coming out of the pen, Pud Galvin, Noodles Hahn, Cincinnati pitcher, who one of the potentially great dead ball pitchers until he had shoulder problems. He definitely was one of the top strikeout pitchers prior to that, the dead ball era. Sam Lever from Pittsburgh, old Joe McGinnity, of course, Mathewson's Giant teammate, as well as Rube Marquardt, who will be the closer. So that is your Louisville Colonels entry into this league. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Let's go check out the Iowa Nine. So the Iowa Nine probably, I would arguably say, a little bit more loaded in their outfield. They're starting Joe Jackson, Tris Speaker, and Sam Crawford left to right. And that outfield is strong enough that it bumped Ty Cobb to the designated hitter spot, as he is probably the least effective defensive outfielder of those three or four. The infield, again from third to first, Frank Baker, Nap Lajoie, Eddie Collins, and Stuffy McGinnis. And you see Connie Mack's Dynasty A's team of that time period making up 3/4 of the infield. Catching will be the Chicago White Sox catcher Ray Schock, his backup Red Kleinow, who played for the Highlanders. And then backing up the outfielders, Elmer Flick. And of course, Cobb will get some time in center and right as well. Around the infield, the St. Louis Browns wonderkind Bobby Wallace. Lajoie can play second base as well. That was obviously his primary position, but he is also capable of playing short. And then backing up Stuffy McGinnis at first will be the Black Prince of Baseball, Hal Chase. And if you go back a few years, I actually did a vlog on him. A interesting character, I'll bet despicable one. And backing up Baker at third will be Bill Bradley, and Bobby Wallace may also get some starts there. The pitching staff is where the AL team really stands out. Top to bottom, the starting rotation, Chief Bender, Walter Johnson, Rube Waddell, Ed Walsh, and Smokey Joe Wood. Coming out of the pen, Jack Chesbro, who has the modern Major League record for victories. Colby Jack Coombs, Addie Joss, another player who Hall of Fame still, but would have gone on to be definitely recognized one of the all-time greats if his life had not been cut short by meningitis. But his death also led to the first Major League All-Star game, and we'll cover a lot of this stuff in the fun facts we do in the seventh inning of games coming up. Eddie Plank, another one of Connie Mack's stalwarts. So even this pitching staff, players who played primarily or at some point for Connie Mack's athletics team, Bender, Waddell, Coombs, Plank. And so it's a very strong representation. The closer will be Dutch Leonard. And then also, do not think I've missed Del Pratt. I do not think I mentioned him. He is a infielder, second baseman primarily. It's going to be tough for him to get a lot of reps with Collins and Lajoie in that infield. But that is it. The setup and the teams. And we'll go ahead. What we're going to do is we'll play basically a game of the week for each team and then simulate till the next week and see how they do. I have to think the American League entry, the Iowa team, is a definite contender to win that Central Division. Their strongest competition is going to come from Cleveland. Over in the NL, again, probably a very potentially easy and logical path for Louisville to win the NL Central, as the Cubs, young up-and-coming team, Cincinnati kind of in the same boat, and Cardinals, very disappointing last season. And probably a little bit past their window. So I expect both teams to contend for a playoff spot. We'll see how it goes, and we will be back with our very first game after this. So I hope you check this out. Should be a lot of fun, and it's always fun to see or speculate how players from different eras would fare. Personally, the big advantage both of these teams have, I think, is the pitching, and I neutralize this league, and it's based on modern metrics. But the dead ball pitchers obviously are going to have an advantage due to the stats they put up when the ball did not travel quite as far. So that's definitely going to be a factor. Power, not going to be a factor. And I guess technically I could have squeezed Babe Ruth onto the Iowa team, but that really wouldn't be fair because he came to prominence as a power-hitting outfielder with the exception of 1919 in the live ball era from 1920 on. So did not include him. So the American League squad doesn't really have a lot of power. They're going to have good base running, and we will see how small ball works in modern times. Maybe the bigger bases will help. But we'll be back with our first game, and hope you all check this out and follow. Anthony with Bleacher Bums Gaming, and we'll talk to you later.